project my voice. I'm the Director of Heritage Programs and Operations for the Ontario Heritage Trust, and it's my pleasure to be here with you today. The Ontario Heritage Trust was established in 1967 as the province's lead heritage agency, with a mandate to keep Ontario's rich heritage alive, its diverse heritage alive. One of the Trust's most important activities is the Provincial Plaque Program, and we are really pleased that you could be here with us today for the unveiling of these provincial plaques commemorating Jean Lumb. We're especially pleased that we've been able to feature this plaque not only in English and French, which is our tradition, but also in traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese. I'd like to begin this evening by introducing your platform party. The Honourable Michael Chan, Minister for Citizenship and Immigration and MPP from Markham Unionville. Consul Zhuang, Consulate General of the People's Republic of China in Toronto. The Honourable John McCallum. Where's John McCallum here? Not yet, okay. His Worship Frank Scarpitti, Mayor of the Town of Markham. Dora Nick, a historian who has prepared our background paper. And I'm especially pleased to introduce Dorothy Liu and Dr. Ken Lumb, representing Jean Lumb's family and the Jean Lumb Foundation. And thank you so much to members of the Jean Lumb family for being here. We're also pleased to have with us Reza Morita, MPP for Richmond Hill. To set our evening in context, historian Dora Nick will tell us more about Jean Lumb. Dora is a lawyer, an ethnologist, and the Chief Executive Officer of the Multicultural History Society of Ontario. Please welcome Dora Nick.
Good evening. Jean Lumb lived an extraordinary life. Her father, Wang Fenji, came to Canada in 1899, and a few years later he brought his wife, Ma Hong, and son from China. Jean, Wang Toijin, was born in Nanaimo in 1919. She was the sixth of 12 children. Undaunted by employment restrictions in British Columbia, the Wangs, like many other Chinese Canadians, took control of their livelihood by establishing family businesses. During the Great Depression, Jean's father operated a food store in Vancouver, and in 1931, Jean, at the age of 12, left school to work in her father's store. 4 years later, Jean, with her younger sister, Dorothy, moved from Vancouver to Sudbury before relocating in Toronto to open her own store. And the store was so successful that within a very short time, she was able to bring her parents from Vancouver. Jean was one of the earliest Chinese women to settle in Toronto's male-dominated Chinese community, and she thrived in the city. In 1939, Jean married Doyle Lumb, but because he was a Chinese national, Jean was stripped of her Canadian citizenship, and it wasn't reinstated until 1957. Jean and Doyle raised 6 children in the small apartment above their fruit store on Dundas Street West. In 1950, Jean was elected president of the Women's Auxiliary of the Chinese Humanities Society, and she quickly became a pillar of the community. Her husband Doyle was her strongest supporter. Jean Lumb worked hard to challenge discrimination and federal immigration legislation. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1923 prohibited the entry of Chinese to Canada, and it wasn't repealed until 1947. Even then, an order in council stipulated that only Asians who were Canadian citizens could sponsor family members, with eligible family members restricted to unmarried minor children and parents over the age of 65. As a result, many Chinese were unable to bring family members to Canada, specifically at a time of political upheaval in China during the 1950s. Concerned Canadians established a committee in 1956 to lobby Ottawa to lift these restrictions. Jean Lumb participated in the appeal for family reunification and was the only female member of a delegation of 40 Chinese Canadians who met with Prime Minister John Diefenbaker. Through the delegation's efforts, the government changed immigration regulations in 1957, extending the right to sponsor relatives to Asians who are legal residents in Canada. In 1959, Jean and Doyle opened the Kwang Chow Chop Suey House in the heart of Toronto's Chinatown. For 23 years, it was a favorite gathering place for prominent politicians and celebrities and a venue for important events in the Chinese community. From the early 1910s, Toronto's Chinatown had stretched north along Elizabeth Streets from Queen to Dundas Streets. During the 1950s, more than 2/3 of Elizabeth Street was destroyed to construct the new City Hall and Nathan Phillips Square. In 1967, city planners proposed that Chinatown be moved again to allow the construction of large office buildings north of City Hall. This proposal threatened many businesses and prompted Jean Lumb and other community leaders to establish the Save the Chinatown Committee, with Jean Lumb as its coordinator. Jean's commitment to the preservation and promotion of Chinese culture and heritage was most evident in her work on this committee. The crisis gave the Chinese community an opportunity to consider its connection to Chinatown and to present its group identity to Toronto's political leaders. Chinatown was portrayed not only as important to the community, but also as a key to recognize the struggles of the generations that had come before. The committee's arguments prevailed, and the plan for the preservation of Chinatown was adopted by City Council on June 16, 1969. Jean had many firsts to her credit, too many, in fact, to mention here. But I must include that in 1976, she was the first Chinese-Canadian woman to receive the Order of Canada for her tireless community work. Most notable, Jean was recognized for her role in changing Canada's immigration laws and for her support to preserve Chinatowns in Toronto and other Canadian cities. Despite much adversity during a very difficult period of history for Chinese Canadians, Jean Lumb accomplished much. She fought for respect and diversity through the celebration of theater, food, dance, heritage conservation, and efforts to make immigration legislation more equitable. She left a legacy of social activism and cultural pride for future generations, celebrated here tonight and every year at the Jean Lumb Awards. Yes, Jean Lumb truly lived an extraordinary life.
And by 1959, she co-owned the well-reputed Kwang Chow restaurant with her husband, Doyle Lumb. Energetic and outgoing, she established strong links with prominent politicians, and in the 1950s lobbied successfully for the removal of discriminatory immigration regulations in Canada. Wide-ranging community work earned her numerous honors, including appointments to Women's College Hospital Board of Governors and the Ontario Advisory Council on Multiculturalism. President of the Women's Association of the Chinese Dramatic Society for 25 years. All her contributions to understand them and to follow suit and to contribute to the community in which we live. It's our hope that this will be one of many provincial plaques that the Trust will do in partnership with the Chinese Canadian community. I'd like to thank everyone that made today possible. In particular, I would like to recognize the hard work and support of Arlene Chan. Members of the family that come forward, we'd love to get some more.
Over here.